So really, you don't want your combine broke down in the middle of harvest, and you also don't want holes through your threshing system where you start to lose the grain. So when those combines are being inspected, we really are preaching preventative maintenance. Look for areas that are weak. We'll actually take some metal pieces and wiggle them and show the farmers like this is how thin this is. This would not last your full season. So really, it's about preventative maintenance, lining it before it becomes a problem, because we're seeing a lot longer wear time on these parts. So you're going to be good for multiple seasons. Wear it preventatively, and then when you need to replace it, you're replacing a liner versus the entire feeder house floor. You're replacing a grain tank liner instead of the entire grain tank, a bubble up liner instead of the bubble up tube. You're saving time and money in the long term.
Welcome to the Crop Science Podcast Show, brought to you by 𝗦𝗽ecie. I am Brian Arnell, and I'm coming to you from the campus of Oklahoma State University. Today, we have on with us Jonathan Harwood. He's with CNH Reman Product Manager and Electronics Wear Parts. He's been with CNH Reman for 15 years, based out of Springfield, Missouri. He's also been a driveline engineer, product specialist, core manager, and warehouse depot manager. Jonathan, thanks for joining us today on the Crop Science Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into what you do on the daily, tell us a little bit about how you ended up as the product manager at CNH Reman.
So yeah, back in 2006, I was going to Missouri State University for construction management, and that was a time when there's a lot of housing problems, and the construction market slowed down. So I wanted a job that had a little bit more consistency and predictability to it. So I ended up going for industrial management. So I knew I needed to get a job in that field, and the first job was at Springfield Remanufacturing Corporation as an intern. Great thing, I got to intern in manufacturing engineering, production engineering, finance, even a little bit of product engineering. So really got a really well-rounded business view from that. Well, then I became a driveline engineering manager for them in 2009. And then shortly after that, that industry became the joint venture that's now CNH Reman. So really from the beginning, I was been able to be a part of this great organization.
Did you know that on average you lose approximately 1 bushel an acre during harvest? Header loss and threshing loss due to wear and tear on your equipment can lessen your yield and profits. CNH Reman Wear Parts is a drop-in ready solution made from high-quality steel that lasts longer than the competition and is covered by an industry-leading 24-month warranty. CNH Reman is helping farmers have on-time delivery of their harvest. Visit your local Case IH or New Holland dealership for details.
That's fantastic, and I like how you started out as an intern. I think we'll dive into that a little bit later on. But tell us a little bit more. Now dive into what is CNH Reman.
So CNH Reman is the sole remanufacturer for CNH Reman products in North America. So we supply CNH with remanufactured drivelines, engines, fuel, really anything that can be repaired or remanufactured off of that those combines, tractors, even on the construction market. Really anything that can be remanufactured, we provide that to CNH, who has depots across North America that we provide product for.
And what is, in your realm, what does product manager mean? What are you doing on the daily?
So pretty much I'm a miniature CEO of my product lines. So really the P&L statement, the income statement, even inventory, forecasting, anything that kind of drives the business, even to the sales and marketing side. I work with all sorts of different departments to kind of make sure that my product line is growing, marketable, in the right markets, priced correctly. Really, it's just about having that overall control of that product line.
So I'm going to kind of dive off, and I apologize to all the guests because I don't follow recommendations well. So I've got a great list of things to talk about with you, but I go off script quite a bit. So, you've been in the industry now 18 years, 15 in your current spot. How's the industry shifted for you and what you guys do in the parts position for the last 15 years? Because I look at just the equipment change in the last 15 years. Talk a bit on your side.
So yeah, talking about being a driveline engineering manager first, you're talking about hard parts. We're tearing down transmissions, stuff that you can see wear on, that you can replace gears, shafts, seals are leaking. You can see all that visually. Now it's transitioned on the electronic side specifically to it failed, and it could be a 2 cent resistor
Hmm.
in that product that's causing it to fail, or it could even be a software. We saw some of the recent software nightmares that happened because of a failed rollout. Same thing can happen on our products as well. So it's way more electrical, way more software driven, even into the GPS and navigational stuff we're getting into that you can repair, which is incredible that we can go inside a board and solder resistors and fix stuff and reprogram and remanufacture software, change software where there was problems. So it's really changed from more of a mechanical. The mechanics are
Hmm.
still there, but really electronic.
And I'm going to stay on the mechanics for just a little bit because I like to grease monkey around. I'm really bad at it, especially with new stuff. I can barely, I can't change the spark plugs on my pickup because I can't reach them with the tools. But I went home a couple weeks ago when my dad needed help, and he's got an old 43 International pickup truck, and the simplicity of that 43 and jumping in and diagnosing this problem in a matter of 5 minutes versus not reaching spark plugs on the mechanical line. There's been a fair amount. I know you talk about wear, but there's been a fair amount of change even on the mechanical line, especially in horsepower. Has the increase in horsepower changed how you guys deal, or even the wear that you see on the equipment?
We're seeing pretty consistent wear. The one thing we will say is that when you're have 650 horsepower in an engine and it decides to go, it blows out the side of the block.
Yeah,
So we see more catastrophic block failures at times when it comes to those kind of high horsepower applications. And everything's getting bigger. So as you kind of said, everything's jam packed inside of these pieces of equipment. I had an old 1990 Dodge Ram with a 318 in it. I'd sit on the wheel wells and work on it all day. Gone are those days. It takes more time just to get to the part than it does to actually replace the part.
so do you guys on your side, are you working in just the parts portion, or do you also have a repair portion of the company?
So most of it is in the reman portion of it.
Hmm.
We do have a couple of repair lines on lower volume stuff. We really like to be the one-stop shop solution.
Yeah.
We don't want a dealer to have to really go anywhere else besides us. So we do offer electronics repair and return on low volume, products that we just don't fit a manufacturing higher volume setup.
That makes sense. So do you work solely with dealerships, or do you also have some producers or owners straight interaction?
No, we work strictly with dealerships.
Okay.
We will help provide marketing material to the end customer, the farmers, the owners. But yeah, we work strictly with the dealerships.
Now, because you hit on it, I think it's really fascinating, at least on my side. Because so my background, just so you know, I'm soil fertility, but I'm also precision ag. So technology is something I've been involved with since the late 1990s, and so seeing how tech has changed, just controller units on sprayers and stuff, how they've changed from what I had access to in 2000 versus now. It's slightly different. How does a company like CNH change from that machinery, mechanical based, into electronics based? How did you guys make that transition?
Well, so CNH kind of went there. And so we watch volumes and we look at the market and we kind of see where's there a need that we can actually meet. And so as CNH began to transition over time, because it wasn't, it's been slowly going this direction for a long time.
Yeah.
We've just kind of been following suit with where CNH is going. But also, we've had to hire engineers that have a
Hmm.
different background. A mechanical engineer, you could hire a mechanical engineer and put them on driveline, fuel, whatever, and they're going to be able to figure it out and kind of go through it. Well, now it's with electronics, it's completely different. It's more of a trained specialty that they have to be able to go in and identify on a board, sitting there for hours, exactly what failed.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I mean, because you're right. I'm not going to put a diesel mechanic or a driveline mechanic on a software board and expect them to do anything good.
Right.
Because I would see it as your personnel portfolio, right? What versus 15 years ago, how many more electronic specialists and how much more on the electronic side is that relationship for your personnel?
Yeah, so we've got a significant more electronics engineers. We've got a couple different facilities that remanufacture. We probably got 8 to 10 total engineers plus
Hmm.
techs and other people. Whereas, some of the stuff to launch takes a little bit longer. You're not tearing it down, rebuilding it. You're really having to dive into the prints, the schematics to identify it. So it takes a little bit more time. So yeah, the mix of engineers is shifting more to the electronic side.
Where are you sourcing those engineers from? I mean, who are the good schools? Where's the good locations that you get those engineers to supply your business?
We've got some great Missouri State University. We pull some students from there. We pull some students from Columbia, Missouri.
Hmm.
Pitt State has a good program, and really we're trying to get kids from our. We had 12, I think, interns
Hmm.
across the board at CNH Reman this year. So we're really big into the intern program. I think we had three or four engineers this year alone. So we keep trying to stay up with the internship opportunities as well. That's really kind of where we get a lot of those people.
Well, and I love it. And I love that you started as an intern, right? And so at OSU campus, our internships for our agronomy kids are critical. We see that one, we get them into jobs, but they also find out the jobs that aren't suited for them. And so it's kind of a win-win on both company sides, because companies get to sniff out, the personnel, and is this the right fit for our environment and for our job task. How does has the internships evolved much since you were an intern?
Yes, they have. When I was an intern, you were given a lot of jobs and responsibilities. There wasn't a lot of, bonding experience or anything else like that. Now there's a lot more
Yeah.
like outings and fun things that you do as an intern. My fun thing was waking up at 5 in the morning on Saturday, and they let me build engines on the engine line, which I love. So
Yeah.
that was my fun time.
Yeah, I would say so. I came through, a little bit before you, but not by much. And internships back then was we were pretty good laborers. I'll put it that way. That
Yep.
we did some tough work for low pay, but got in the system. All right, so everybody, you're listening to the Crop Science Podcast Show, and today we have Jonathan Harwood. He's with CNH Reman Product Manager. So Jonathan, let's get back into actually what you're doing. Where did the idea come from for the CNH Reman wear parts?
So we actually teamed with 𝗽𝗍𝗄𝐿 Fabrications. They're out of Iowa, and the owner of that, Mike, he has been a red farmer through and through, Case IH, for years. And in the middle of harvest, his unload system fell. It had worn down. He hit a bump, and the entire unload system fell. So when that happens, you're done. And so he came up with a creative liner for the vertical unload system that would fix that, but also provide more strength to it so that it wouldn't happen again. Then he could just keep relining it as needed to be. You didn't have to take the entire unload system off with a crane to be able to fix that. So it was really about how do you get up and going for the least amount of cost as a farmer.
Yeah.
And that between him and his brother started to become 𝗽𝗍𝗄𝐿 Fabrications. We ran into them at a farm show, Farm Progress, where they were selling a Reman flagship transition cone, and they were remanufacturing it. They were tearing it down, they were rebuilding it, they were lining it with a Hardox metal, which is a lot harder metal, a lot pure metal than what's on a lot of the equipment nowadays. And we were like, man, we'd like to offer that, and so we were able to offer that in 2022. That took off, and so in August of 2023, we said we want to offer your whole entire product line
Hmm.
for these dealers, because we're really backing it. We really believe in it. And so now we've got about 160 part numbers in our catalog, really from old small, mid-range, and large frame legacy combines all the way up to the latest flagship combines we have product offering.
I always love walking around farm shows like Farm Progress and seeing the farmer driven aftermarket products that go on. And so I love that you, as a company, have just said, this is valuable. This is important. This is important for our clients and our customers, and we need to bring it on and making it bigger. How did that? So, how did that transition when you brought them onto the line? I guess, are you now manufacturing at a larger scale, or is it still in their shop?
No, so they've actually had to add, I think, 70,000 square foot to their facility because it's taken off. They were offering several part numbers, but we've well over doubled their business in the first year that we've been together.
That's fantastic. So what areas that the combine do your parts cover?
really from the front to the back, anything the grain touches. With increased yields and everything that's going on with these, you're pushing a lot more grain than what you ever have through this system. So really, from the feeder house all the way through the threshing system, the clean grain system, the grain tank, the unload system, all the way to residue management, and even some parts for like the corn heads, we offer kind of front to back, being able to line those and replace parts with a little bit longer lasting material.
Yeah, that's something I don't think a lot of the folks that are not involved in the daily activities, especially of harvest, understand the volume of grain and even the weight. I mean, the sheer weight that an auger like has to handle now kicking out if you've got like we do a lot of wheat, right? So we've got some really big platform headers and you got to get outside the reach of that to hit the grain truck. And now you're pushing a lot of grain and that's a lot of wear on a metal and a system.
Yep.
So, why are wear parts an important part of your annual combine inspections?
So really, you don't want your combine broke down in the middle of harvest, and you also don't want holes through your threshing system where you start to lose the grain. So when those combines are being inspected, we really are preaching preventative maintenance. Look for areas that are weak. We'll actually take some metal pieces and wiggle them and show the farmers like this is how thin this is. This would not last your full season. So really, it's about preventative maintenance, lining it before it becomes a problem, because we're seeing a lot longer wear time on these parts. So you're going to be good for multiple seasons. Wear it preventatively, and then when you need to replace it, you're replacing a liner versus the entire feeder house floor. You're replacing a grain tank liner instead of the entire grain tank, a bubble up liner instead of the bubble up tube. You're saving time and money in the long term.
Yeah, a lot of folks get on the hammer of preaching that the most critical pass is the first pass, that planter pass. But the efficiency of a harvest pass, I think, is sometimes understated in the thoughts of it because everything is good until a combine goes down and a storm hits.
Yeah.
And so, a couple day delay in harvest can be a significant economic impact on any system. And so making sure that combine is up and running and doesn't have to be down. Every hour down is an hour that you're closer to the next storm that can wipe out a crop or shatter or get wet or what bid or lay it over and now everything's down. So I think it's sometimes missed the importance of that, and I really like the concept of the wear part. So you're not wearing on the machine that you've invested; you've weared on a part that has a short life that can be replaced, and you keep that larger machine intact to have better resale value and longer life on that machine.
And the resale value piece is huge, because sometimes when these combines are especially in like rice country,
Mm-hmm.
they're beat up pretty good. And so your trading value continues to decline. But if you have these liners in there, you can actually take those liners out and your equipment's still shiny
Mm-hmm.
in the threshing system. And man, that's really going to show good for your trade-in value.
So if you see the people, are you seeing the newer machines, more folks adding these on newer machines, or are you seeing the majority of the sales going to older machines that they're trying to maintain?
We're still seeing it on the older machines that you're trying to maintain, but we're actually working with CNH as a whole to
Mhm.
look at becoming part of like their certified pre-owned process,
Yeah.
but also looking at adding it as a extended wear upgrade when you purchase a new combine. Kind of like you buy a new car, you have upgrade options that the dealership will install. Trying to move into that kind of avenue.
See, that makes perfect sense. Saying that, I up the cost of a combine by 5 or 10% to have that wear package put in, and I don't have to do it after the fact that it's done before it hits my farm makes just a ton of sense. So I really like that aspect. So if we start talking about these parts, what kind of lifespan are you getting out of your parts?
So really, we're seeing about a 2.5 times longer than the extended wear that is currently offered from Case, and it's really about the consistent hardness through the metal. So the metal that we've chosen, this Hardox 450 500 metal that we're utilizing, is very pure metal. When we've worked with 𝗟�58 to see kind of the charts of the Brunel hardness of the metal, and you see these weak spots in a lot of the remanufactured metal. What I call it remanufactured metal, whereas they're smelting cars, they're smelting all this together, they're
Mhm.
creating this metal. You get weak spots. that weak spots, the grain's going to find it, and it's going to start to create divots, and then it's going to start to wear it even more, and it's going to create holes. This material really has a plus or minus 25 Brinell hardness throughout the entire thickness and the entire plate of that steel. So it's just a very pure steel where you're not going to see those weak points.
That's so I guess this would be one. So if we look at the cost, combines aren't cheap anymore. How much, if I brought you the biggest, baddest, brand new case combine, said outfit it, what kind of cost is that looking like to do it from top to bottom?
It'll vary, but really, when you're looking at it, it could be 20 to 25 grand.
Yeah.
When you look at the cost of a combine, that's pretty small.
Yeah, that's my point. Is I'm looking at that $30,000 mark, and I'm like, well, okay, we're almost to 1%.
Yeah.
Or 10%. I guess we're almost to 10%. We're in still single digit percentages, 5% of new combines. So, that's a great investment on a really high cost machine. So that's something great.
It's time for our famous three.
So, Jonathan, as we move on, my 3 questions I ask all my guests: what is your go-to work resource? When you have problems, questions, or otherwise, where do you turn to?
CNH has got some really great resources that we can tap into. We go through a lot of the parts catalog, and you'll take a combine and you'll go through the entire system and kind of look at what you believe is going to fail. But a great resource is just Google.
Yep.
We'll go to Google and we'll search out what the competition's doing, who's selling what the price of the competition is selling for, because we want to be valued correctly. Now, at CNH Reman, we do offer a 2-year warranty on wear parts, which is insane, but we're not seeing the failures. So 2-year warranty on that. So we will be priced at a little bit of a premium because of that. But yeah, we use the internet for a lot of our research.
That's great. Now the more personal aspect, what do you do for free time? What's your favorite leisurely activity?
Well, I've got a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. So a 10-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. So they keep me pretty busy with coaching. I played a lot of sports, so that's a lot of the free time. We live out in the country, so I love to hike. But something I've really gotten into the last 3 years is running.
Yep.
A great way to kind of release the stress and the anxiety and the pressures of life. So doing long runs, but I also play guitar. I've played guitar since I was about 7 and love to do that as well. Too loud if you ask my wife, but I love to do that.
So I got the kids. Is that baseball, softball, soccer, volleyball? Where are your kids settling in on their athletic abilities?
Yeah. So my son is baseball and basketball, which was mine. And then the daughter is into softball. She did her first coach pitch softball league, which was great, and basketball as well. My son is biological. My daughter, we adopted a little bit over a year ago.
That's awesome. Well, where do people go to find out more about CNH Reman and maybe come see you again at a show?
Yeah, so you can go to CNH Reman's website. Just Google CNH Reman, and we have our full catalogs in there. But also go to your local dealership. They're going to have the catalogs. They're going to have the parts system. I'm going to be able to help you with any of your parts needs.
Fantastic. Well, folks, that wraps up another episode of the Crop Science Podcast Show presented by 𝗺𝗻𝑇ICS. Thanks for joining us today with our guest, Jonathan Harwood. He's with CNH Reman as a product manager of electronics and wear parts. Again, if y'all like this podcast, click subscribe so you get notifications on when it comes out, and make sure you share it with your friends and others. Also, if you have any suggestions, comments, or questions, make sure you let us know. Jonathan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.